Perhaps the most memorable encounter I've had with anyone.
Every single time I dug into it, what I found is it's not the highest domain authority that wins. It's not the most links. It's not the oldest or the most prestigious. It's whoever has the least amount of long form quality content that isn't confusing Google. They win in the end.
Welcome to the Own Your Commerce podcast, where leading experts, brands, and innovators reveal strategies for e-commerce growth. I'm your host, Jay Myers, and this show is brought to you by Bold Commerce. Hey everyone, just a quick reminder, Bold is a proud sponsor this year of Sub Summit. It's the largest conference for subscription e-commerce brands. So if you're a subscription brand, make sure you attend. There's going to be a ton of good learnings. Just head to subsummit.com and find out. Also, everyone's getting ready for Black Friday, for the holidays, and every year people forget to set up their sales ahead of time. So I just want to do a special call out. If you don't have a proper sales or bundling or an upsell app, now's the time to do it. Bold does have a lot of these apps. So make sure you check out either Bold discounts, Bold bundles, Bold upsell, Bold quantity breaks. A lot of these apps are crucial during holiday seasons when you're running sales and promotion. So just make sure you get them installed early. And actually, we're going to talk about that a little bit on this episode. So here we go. Welcome to another exciting episode of Own Your Commerce. I'm so excited about the guest we have today. Orendorff is the former editor-in-chief at Shopify Plus. This guy knows e-commerce and he knows content and he knows how it all works together. The reason we're rushing this episode out is because, well, Amazon announced Prime Day is October 13th, and right off the bat, Aaron drops some knowledge bombs and some real tactical advice on what you need to do as an e-commerce store while Amazon is having its Prime Day. Little tip, it's not just going to affect and be for Amazon, it's going to affect all e-commerce stores. So make sure you pay attention to that so you can be ready. Also, not all emails are equal. It's one of the things Aaron touched on this as well. Depending when you capture them actually makes a big difference. So make sure you pay attention to that. And are you using quiz funnels in your store? If not, you probably should be. And we'll dive into why and how easy it is to set them up, what they are. Make sure you pay attention to that part as well too. Man, Aaron dropped a lot of knowledge bombs on this one. He also touched on the 3 key reasons why you need to invest in content as an e-commerce brand. Lastly, never kill your support articles. There's a good chance they might be one of your highest ranking pages for search. There is a better way to handle outdated articles. Man, we covered a lot on this. You're going to love this episode. Let's go.
Oh, a little bit more. Let's go with a lot more. Set expectations incredibly high.
The bar has been set. Which
is the opposite of what we're supposed to do. It's supposed to be lower the bar. So I probably should have said, no, this is not going to be tactical, practical. You're going to own less of your commerce by the time you're done listening to this. And then if they own a little bit more, we're golden.
Man, I love it. You know why I love it? Because actually, I just had Tommy Walker actually on the show.
Get out.
No, it hasn't aired yet, but I was just, so now actually I'm going to make it a personal goal of mine to have every former editor-in-chief at Shopify Plus on the podcast.
Do me a favor. Put his out after mine because he's incredibly more creative than I am.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of setting the bar, so let's, depending on who drops more knowledge bombs, that'll determine which episode gets aired first. So,
I'll look out for that.
Tommy, the gauntlet has been dropped, buddy. Well, why don't we start right off on the top? Let's start with, if someone only listens to the first 5 minutes of this podcast, which would be a crying shame, but if they only listen to the first 5 minutes, is there anything you can give as a couple drops right off the bat that a merchant can apply and take away within a couple minutes here?
Depending on when this airs, we may be before, during, or after October 13th. And the important thing about that date is that's the delayed date, the new date that Amazon Prime Day is going to hit. Google research indicates that something around 45% of respondents to one of their surveys said they're going to begin using Prime Day to shop for gifts. So if anything, that is the date. That's the official, unofficial start date of holiday online shopping. So if you only listen to the first 5 minutes, mark that date on your calendar. And above anything else in this episode, as it relates to content and commerce, nail down your on-site email capture at least two levels. One, a straight discount with a welcome series that follows, and two, a preview of what your Black Friday, Cyber Monday, early holiday, gift giving guides, whatever that's going to look like. Load up a second on-site capture to capture that, and then begin building out those two welcome sequences. So you can turn one on during October, one on early-ish mid-November, and then also set up a single, at least one robust 30-ish day post-purchase email sequence that includes those initial review requests delayed based on when people will start using your product, and then an aggressive mid-holiday gift giving and post-holiday New Year post-purchase sequence to follow it up. The costs of advertising are never going to be greater than they will be this holiday season. I mean, they might go up next season, but with everything that's gone down this year, it's this perfect storm of new holiday online shoppers and a lot of enterprise retailers that have been holding off, pulling back spend all through the year. And the way budgets work is they are going to dump those advertising dollars into omni-channel, meaning especially into digital spaces, and to try to compete head to head with those sort of spends is going to be murderous. Get your email content on lock.
Man, you nailed it. I'll make sure this gets out before October 13th because I could not agree more. I mean, Amazon Prime, what's always been like in the spring. When was it before? It was June or something?
Yeah, it's always like midsummer, I think, or early summer mid.
And so like, even take Amazon Prime out of her Prime Day out of the picture. Like there's so many questions about what Black Friday is going to be like this year with, I don't think the days of, camping outside of Best Buys and stampeding into stores, like that's over. That's done. Like I think I heard Walmart and Target and some of the stores are even the physical locations are going to be closed, right?
They've all, those and more to come, I'm sure, are announcing they're closed on Thanksgiving, possibly, thinned out crowds on Black Friday. And they're all just going to be trying to push that back and forward into the weeks preceding and post-seeding, if that's a word. And that just means those folks, they got to make their money somehow. And they know it's going to then be full rush on digital.
Yeah. And the ones that are open, some of them are talking about doing a lottery system to get in. So you can't have people lining up and rushing in. So it'll be a draw if you can shop at the physical Best Buy location. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think normally, like we are at Bold, like because we have a few products that help merchants with Black Friday, I can tell you it's not until usually early November that we start getting like, hey, I got to set up my sales. I got to get my sales set up now, like with one of our apps. And so like merchants don't usually think about Black Friday. Now you're saying get prepared October 13th, even if you don't have sales active, make sure that if they're on your site, they know that there's something there because they've got X amount to spend and they can go give that money to Amazon, or they can, oh, you know what? ABC site over here has a sale. They've announced it. If I get on their list, I'm going to get exclusive access to that. I think that the whole concept of collecting emails around Black Friday is like, that's the gold that most people miss out on. It's not even about how much extra money you make. It's you're getting a whole new series of customers shopping your store that have probably never shopped with you before. It's like, it's really customer acquisition. So you got to look at it that way. So I could not agree with you more.
Man, and one of the really interesting things, we've passed the 5-minute mark, but one of the really interesting things about getting to work for Common Thread Collective is we're also majority owners of 4x400, which is now a collection of 5, possibly 6 very soon, D2C e-commerce brands that Andrew Ferris runs essentially in-house. So we get all of the data, not just from our clients, but from them. And a lot of times can go full kimono. And what we see across the board, and they do a lot of different verticals. They've got everything from like dirt bike and ATV wash to jewelry and bracelets, wallets and men's accessories. Like they've got a variety of different types of products, all operating under different brands. And what we saw is, right, the value of an email address is exponentially more the earlier you get it during Q4 and the holidays. So prioritizing that now, just that aggressive capture on the front side, even if like say something with advertising now, it's less expensive. If you're able to purchase more traffic, more visitors, that's great for retargeting. But at the same time, those visitors getting their email addresses, even if it's at an initial loss and you can afford that on the advertising front, knowing that it's going to pay off very soon.
Yeah, because I think you need to look at what you're gathering that email with, maybe a bit of a loss on the sale. Like that's customer acquisition costs, and people don't bat an eye when they're spending $40 or $50 to acquire a customer through an Instagram ad or Google or some form of paid advertising, but they think it's so bad if they have to discount through an email to collect that email. But like it's customer acquisition cost. And if you have a good understanding of what the lifetime value is of your customers and you know those metrics, then you can play with those numbers, and you can do some really neat things to acquire those customers. And I think you're bang on, because I'm thinking of myself when I shop, and when I'm shopping like right on Black Friday, I will enter my email address to get the 10% off coupon, but I might not be a super committed customer. But if someone's entering an email address in October, they are thinking about that store. There's a product they want. They've probably been on it. Their friend has that product. They've researched it. That's a really valuable customer. So you're right. I had never thought about that. The value difference between emails collected now versus like the day of Black Friday, where people just want the 10% coupon and they enter their spam email address that they just use for coupons. Or so, not that I have those. I've heard people have them.
Quiz funnels, man. Quiz funnels. Let's push that back into the first 5 minutes somehow. Let's reverse it. Quiz funnels. Octane AI's new quiz builder with landing pages is like could be a game changer for a lot of folks. We've done this in-house with Bamboo Earth, one of the 4x400 brands. It's a skincare, predominantly female, natural skincare product. And they built that with Typeform that they just plugged into Klaviyo, synced that with their product catalog. And those quiz funnels, people love quizzes. I don't know what the half-life on that is, but for now, people, thank you, BuzzFeed, love taking quizzes. And it's a great, like you can even pre-game in some of the advertisements of the quiz and exactly what it looks like. And that's seductive. People love clicking and doing that sort of thing. And then you get more information on the front end, even if you're not selling something initially.
Man, you know what? The guys at Octane AI, they're great partners of ours. Definitely check out their new quiz tool that they launched.
Yeah.
And even if you don't use a quiz tool, we've seen stores do it, like you just mentioned, with simple forms. And we just actually saw a brand do this with our subscriptions. They sell like dog and cat and pet treats, like gummies that they chew on. And they had a big mega menu, and you would hover over it, and it would be, dogs, cats, chewy toys or toys for healthy teeth or whatever. And you literally had to pick from all these items, and it was just confusing as a customer. You didn't know where to go. Then they put on the home page, they still have the menu, but right in the main hero banner, there's just a drop down. It says, I have and it's dog or cat, and you pick dog or cat. He has trouble with chewing. He's too active and he like rips up the carpet or the couch, or he has bad teeth or whatever. You select a couple things, and then all it did at the end was it linked to a collection of a pre-existing collection that the customer could have got to by selecting the menu. But I feel like that's the product I need. And I don't know if this is true. I don't have any data for this, but I can tell you anecdotally, when I do one of those quizzes, I'm way more likely to buy because I feel like I'm invested. Like there's this old adage that less clicks is better. How many clicks can you reduce? But I think there's something, quiz adds clicks, but it gets you down a funnel, and you're I don't know. There's something about it.
This is what I love.
Okay. I just have to interrupt you for a second, because what Aaron's about to say is really important. Shoppable quizzes work, and right now they're working excellent. They might not in 2 years, we don't know. But right now, taking your customer down a funnel where they answer questions to get a personalized product recommendation is killer. Two great stores doing this are kongbox.com and heyglowup.com. They're both using it with both subscriptions, and it's made a huge impact on their conversion rates. Check both of them out. Okay, back to the episode.
So Coleman is the brand manager at Bamboo Earth. And the very first time I went through this, like months ago, Bamboo Earth skin quiz funnel.
Yeah.
First time I went through it, I remember messaging him. I'm like, dude, there's a bunch of extra clicks in here. There's like a 26 screen quiz. Some of these are just like filler. Like, man, you could really tighten this and get more conversions. And he came right back to me with like, no, man, we tested.
Yeah.
The more clicks we add, the more screens we add, the higher the conversion rate. And there's like a breaking point at that. But it's just wild, the kind of things that you discover that are counterintuitive to that. And for somebody like Bamboo Earth, where again, very similar. They've got a bunch of different mini kits. They've got a bunch of different products. They've got these full kits. And getting somebody's information during that skin quiz, the lift for customer acquisition is huge. And then it creates a really natural segue from like mini kits or individual products right into higher price point items like the full kit or ongoing subscriptions, which they also offer.
Yeah. And I think it's important to know, like, not all clicks are equal. And there are definitely clicks that would reduce conversion, but clicks through a funnel quiz like that, that's an investment into the brand. And that's psychologically you feeling with each click that this brand knows me better. Every time I click, if I'm clicking around Amazon and I have to spend 12 clicks to find a product, I don't think Amazon knows me any better. It's just annoying to try to find it. But if I'm going through one of those, and actually Octana, I know they're always posting different stores that did it. One of the recent ones, I think it was like 19% of people that went through the quiz. It was like 19% of people bought something, which is insane. So I'll put a couple of good examples of that in the show notes of stores that are leveraging quizzes. And maybe if you have some, I'll get you to email me over, because I think that is definitely a tool that is underutilized.
Absolutely. I'll send you we've done a couple of write-ups on Bamboo Earths. And we've also we've got a client who I can't show as much data on, but Love Wellness has a fantastic quiz as well. I'll hit you with visuals on those.
Okay, so if a listener got to the 15-minute mark, anything else you want to make sure they take away? Because I do have some questions loaded up here that I want to get to, but I feel like you have these are two random knowledge bombs that I wouldn't have even thought about, but they're amazing.
Oh, the last thing, and I swear, Jay did not pregame me, to do this, is back in my Shopify Plus days, I wrote what felt to be a throwaway article on gift wrapping. And that's when I discovered what Bold Commerce offers. And so I'm like praying and cross my fingers that that's still a add-on that people can use. At the cart
absolutely.
level. Oh man, that sort of thing this year, where more and more people are buying those gifts online because they can't go to the store. Track that down. Absolutely. That's a big one. And then also having a backup that's a big, it's just it's an extra. It lifts AOV if you charge for it. It personalizes it, so it's more memorable both for the person sending it. They feel better about it than they do about just sending a brown box. It's better for the experience of the person that's receiving it. And on top of all that, looking out for ways to create those digital experiences that are thoroughly branded for delays in shipping that I also expect are coming. Yeah. Whether that's gift cards or even just a mini 3-part email sequence that both the giver and the receiver can both have as a fallback, so that it arrives and it's fun and it's got music, all those kind of things, just to keep the experience strong, knowing that shipping is going to be a real fight as well.
That is a great tip. And I'm just mentally thinking, I got to make sure our marketing team is letting our merchants. We've written so many blogs over the year about you can do it in so many different ways. It can be a free thing that gets added when they spend a certain amount. You can add it as an option on products. You can do it as kind of like an upsell thing when they're clicking checkout. It's like, would you like to add gift wrapping? The thing that I would say that's the most important, however you choose to do it, is don't wait until the end to let the customer know that gift wrapping is an option. Have it right in their face at the beginning, because it puts that shopper in the mindset that they're shopping for a gift. So like, I might be shopping because I want a new hiking watch, and if on their homepage it's like order between now and October 30th, and we're including free gift wrapping, like, oh yeah, I might want to get something for a friend, but like I hadn't thought about buying a gift there. So you want to get people. That's why they play Christmas music in shopping malls. So it gets you in that Christmas frame of mind to remind you. So what's that psychological Christmas music on your website? Not actually saying play Christmas music, but say letting people know right up front that that's an option and not like the last click. Oh, would you like to add it? So that's a good one.
Honestly, dude, I just Googled it myself, incognito. E-commerce gift wrapping. Number 2 result. Shopify.com on the Shopify Plus blog by Orendorff. And you folks are like the go-to tool all throughout that article. Yep.
Well, that, sir, is what you call evergreen content. Well, shameless plug here, but the holidays are coming up and gift wrapping is pretty essential to a lot of people when they're shopping online. So if you're looking to do it, Bold has 3 really good options to do it. You can use our product options app and apply gift wrapping to one product or a certain collection or your entire website. You can use Bold Upsell and add it as a upsell option when the customer's checking out, or you can use Motivator and make it like a free add-on. When they spend a certain amount, they get free gift wrapping. So check any of those apps out to do gift wrapping. I can't let you get away without drilling you a little bit on some content because you are a master of it. And I guess when it comes to an e-commerce store, because that's who's listening, e-commerce merchants, why should they even care about content? Like they're not running a blog that they're selling advertising on, and they're not trying to, be a professional blogger. Why does content matter for e-commerce stores?
I suppose there's three reasons. The first, and actually the first 2 are indirect reasons to invest in content. Number 1, the brands that succeed most in paid acquisition are brands that take content seriously. So the folks that are creating long form video content, mini documentaries that invest in high quality user generated content, or even just aggressively acquiring user generated content and then repurposing it in their ad accounts, or long form written content, email, aesthetics, all of these things. The greatest benefit of having a dedicated content team, and we could call it creative if you want, is it ends up being fuel for paid acquisition, for paid campaigns that other brands simply can't compete with. Because somebody like Tracksmith, I love Tracksmith's commitment to the running community and the way they tell stories and the way they do photo shoots, 15, 10-mile runs where they go out with the athletes. They're not sponsoring mainstream athletes, but sort of right on the cusp of, or athletes that really reflect their core audience. And so they create all of this beautiful long form content. Sometimes it's when a new product collection drops, they invest in the photography, they invest in the video, they write these long form collection pages when a new release comes out. But then what they've got at the second those all ship is this arsenal of creative in various different sizes and lengths that just demolish anyone else in the D2C space in that realm when it comes to freshness and engagement and the ability to sell and repurpose that content. So it's kind of indirect, but it creates this arsenal behind the scenes, this reservoir to tap into for paid acquisition. The second has a lot to do with SEO. It's like the primary thing that content can do, how-to content, instructional content can do, is it can rank for instructional how-to search phrases organically in a way that products simply never will. That doesn't mean it's going to lead directly to sales. If you get on the first page of Google for how to apply eyeliner or other makeup-related tutorials, it doesn't necessarily mean somebody's going to buy from you directly, although that can happen inside of it. You can build your email list through it. But when you write that sort of content, other people are far more likely to link to it. So if you host that content on the same domain as your store, the indirect benefit there is all the links that people throw to that top quality content that's not gross and salesy, all of those links build up the domain authority of your main site. And it's sort of one of the, rising tide lifts all ships. And so the money makers, the product pages also get huge lifts in organic search traffic.
Do you generally, like with the brands that you work with, run ads to the content pages or to a mix or to the product pages, or there's a experience you want to take a visitor down, right? Like it's you don't want to take them. Well, I'll let you answer, I guess. I'm just thinking out loud now. So
yeah, we do both.
How do you work that in?
We do both. And so, but really the divide comes down to size. So if you're a probably sub 5, maybe even $10 million annual revenue business, then this route can just destroy your margins. Okay. So with the larger clients that we work with, though, we do this in two ways. The first is they simply create blog content, and it's blog for lack of a better word, but it's articles, how-to, written, some visuals, some pictures, embedded videos, that sort of thing. And they do run ads knowing that what this ad is going to do is either get somebody into our email list when they hit the content or build our remarketing audience in a qualified way. So that's one way to use content. The other is to host it off-site and use those off-site publications. Usually it's pay for play, where there's folks that run these aggregate sites of greater and lesser quality. And then essentially they'll give you then the access to the pixel. So you can grab those audiences that are coming in and you run the content ads through their accounts instead. And that gives it a much better feel of, it's not like I'm clicking on a deodorant brand about what are the 5 best deodorants and it's incredibly clear, or like, how to avoid pit stains and those sort of like, those kind of, that one step removed makes it much more effective for social proof, and then also pre-gaming them for the eventual sale.
So this is like getting on like the Forbes and the Mashables and these types of content.
Oh man, way lower hanging fruit than that. I mean, you can look for niche publications around men's health and women's health and relationship advice. And there's some sites that just do this specifically, is they focus on, you basically come to them with an article idea, they create it, they host it on their site. And then you just run it through their account. So you don't even have to like get earned media. I mean, that's awesome to do, but no, you just go looking out for those content hubs.
So what's your secret to getting in? Or I guess maybe some of these content hubs are different, because I get an email probably, I don't know, 10 times a week, people asking to guest post on our blog. And we kind of keep it exclusive for partners. Like I'd love to have you as a guest post on there or any other bold partners. But it just feels like there's like so many people that just want to get. So how do you get through the noise as an e-commerce brand and you're selling razors and you want to write a blog post on like how to do the ultimate shave? And how do you do that?
Most of the sites that I'm talking about are they do their own content creation, but there's just really clear, almost like affiliate level sponsored posts type things. And most people simply do not pay attention to what's sponsored and what isn't. So you're paying to get it placed. Same way you would,
I see.
Forbes, Entrepreneur, New York Times, Studio. Like you can go way up in the price scheme for sponsored content, but it's the exact same thing. But instead, you're just targeting, I would say, I'm looking for, if I use something like Moz, free plugin for Chrome, measures domain authority, and you can do things like just search for related:menshealth.com, related:, and then any publication that's really top tier, you start with those. And what Google will do is it'll feed you back, here's what we think the related publications are. And instead of looking for something like an 80 or a 90 domain authority, which 100 is the max that Moz will give it. And that means, like Forbes is in the 90s and Shopify is in the 90s, those sort of things. Yeah. I'm looking for like 40 to 50.
Yeah.
And then I just click through to those sites that have the 40 to 50, and usually they'll have a sponsored post, affiliate marketing, something very clearly advertising the fact that you can do this through their site.
That's great. Yeah. Better to get a bunch of 50s than spend all your time trying to get on that 190, right?
And it's not, this is the thing. This is not about guest posting, guest blogging, building backlinks. This is just a way to hire somebody that isn't your domain to publish content that shines a positive light on your product and then run ads through them, as well as using that content in your ads so it appears to be social proof. I mean, it's a little gray hatty, but not really, because you're just paying. It's pretty upfront and on board.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a super smart idea. Okay, so that's some great strategies. What are some of the big mistakes you see e-commerce stores doing when it comes to content?
Volume over quality is the killer of content strategies.
You're just talking about volume of individual content,
Yes.
not the total amount.
Yes, volume of, and I think of these in terms of a URL. So a URL is a YouTube video. It lives on a specific, that's the basic unit of measurement. Same thing goes for any of your pages, products, blog posts, anything like that. That's the URL that it lives on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fundamental mistake folks make, especially when they're starting out, and then it just continues, is we think, all right, we're going to post 3 times a week. That's what we're supposed to do. Or maybe they get really aggressive. They're like, once a day. That's what everybody says keeps them coming in. And so they end up creating a whole bunch of different URLs, different units, different videos that are basically all about the same thing. And while that can be good for for visitors that come back, returning visitors, or even email subscribers to do something similar but with a little different bend, that's great for the audience that you already own. But for generating organic traffic, what you end up with is all of these different properties that are competing for what Google thinks is the same keyword.
Yeah.
So you can do that piecemeal here and there, and it's not a big deal, but you do that for longer than 6 months or a year, especially for high volume terms and my favorite to do this one with is how to apply eyeliner. I did this whole experiment a while ago, because this is my secret sauce when it comes to B2B organic traffic, is figure out what Google thinks is cannibalizing your current results. So you Google site : yourowndomain.com. So I Google, got these shortcuts set up, site : commonthreadcode.com, Facebook costs. And I want to see if Google thinks I have multiple pages all competing for the same term. So it limits it to just that domain. Really easy to check these kind of things. But with consumer brands, I did this a while ago with how to apply eyeliner and different makeup tutorials. I did it with t-shirts and shoes and all of these content instructional type of queries, how-to type of queries. And every single time I dug into it, what I found is it's not the highest domain authority that wins. It's not the most links. It's not the oldest or the most prestigious. It's whoever has the least amount of long form quality content that isn't confusing Google. They win in the end. And so to consolidate, it's not about volume. It's about quality for these high search volume terms, not about how much you put out, but how good it is. And then making sure you're going through your back catalog and consolidating, 301ing, deleting and 301ing anything that Google is confused about. So you've got one unit, one URL to rule them all.
This is good. So you're pruning the old posts, or so you said 301. Or what if they link to, so you don't 301 them, but if you have 8 different posts, let's say with the razor example, or the lip, lip gloss, applying lip gloss, eyeliner, here you go. If you have a bunch of different posts about it, like the ultimate guide to putting on eyeliner, or how to do eyeliner for business, or how to do this, but there's one that you want to rank for Google, are you saying it's better to, after those blog posts have served their purpose, like you've written the blog post on like eyeliner for work or for business, and after a month then, or whatever, 3 months, 301 it to your main one that Google looks? Or would you keep it, but everywhere else in your site, like on eyeliner product pages and on your homepage, it's to learn more about eyeliner, you direct them to that one blog post?
I kill them. Not interlinking, not letting them live. If Google is confused about, and one of the reasons for this is so with the eyeliner one, the winner there was only 2, for the content search, how to apply eyeliner, there were only 2 results from actual cosmetic manufacturers. One was Maybelline and one was Into the Gloss. Everything else on the first page of Google was like Cosmopolitan and those sort of, it's content. So Google is serving up content. The only 2 winners were Maybelline, Into the Gloss. and Into the Glossier had the lowest domain authority of all, the fewest articles about it. And then what they did was they were very disciplined about their use of keywords in the URL, in the headline, and on the page itself, so that while they had various eyeliner tutorials that also existed, there was only one that had those words, how to apply eyeliner. Everything else was like business eyeliner made simple, not how to apply business eyeliner, right? So it's that disciplined approach. But even for myself, like I am just ruthless about the payoff. Oh my gosh, dude. The payoff of hitting position 3, 2, and 1 is so dramatically, geometrically different than 20, 30 articles at the bottom of page 1 and scattered throughout pages 2 and 3.
Right.
When you hit those 1, 2, and 3 positions, it just craps traffic on you. And as long as you don't mess it up, that is an evergreen source of emails, leads, and sales.
Interesting. I'm doing it to our site right now. I'm doing site:boldcommerce.com and then subscriptions, and our product pages come up first. So for the apps, but interestingly enough, like 9 out of the 10 results are our support forum. So like our support.boldcommerce.com, and then there's only one blog article, how 8 build box subscription examples and how to set them up or something like that.
When I was at Shopify Plus, I caught this like kill it and redirect it. One URL to rule them all. When I was at Shopify, I would go through month over month, and I was pruning it so dramatically. I would go over to the people that run the Q&A forums, and if the Q&A thing was on like page 1 or 2 of Google using that site : like just some forum post, I would make these requests of, okay, it's older than a month. Can you start redirecting that too, please? So even those I would like redirect, and the wins were enormous.
Oh, I believe it. So, but like if the content is still relevant, so like the top one that comes up for us is managing your subscriptions page. So that content is relevant. So like we can't kill that content, but you're saying if we update it, create a new page and then redirect this old one to, or if the content ever becomes obsolete, because we're guilty of this. And I'm thinking out loud right now, like when an article no longer applies, we just delete it and we create a new article, but we're basically throwing away golden pages right there.
Yeah, those 301s. And then what I often do is try to consolidate. So if I've got three pages that are all sort of about this topic, I want to strip that content out, sew it back together with transitions, meaningful SEO optimized on-page text, kill all 3 of those, redirect them all to one new URL where those 3 pieces have been reborn.
Would you do this like for an e-commerce store? Would you do this for everything? Like anytime you remove a product or anything? Because I bet you a lot of merchants don't. When a product's discontinued, they delete it.
Get on those 301s.
And platforms don't do that by default. Like it's going to be 404 if you delete a product and you hit it. So I know there's a lot of different ways you can do that with apps, or you can do it in Liquid or whatever platform you're on. But that is a great tip that I bet you 90% of listeners are not doing.
And just be really disciplined about what you use as the URL, the H1, page title, H1, whatever your H2s are. And we should actually get into this if we have time, because this I think is the other big mistake.
Well, that was like the next kind of chunk I wanted to get out of your brain was any considerations around SEO. Like what are some merchants, obviously, like if you really want to go ahead and hire an SEO agency, but like what are some quick wins that like they can at least set themselves up for some basic success when it comes to SEO?
Pick, I would say 5 to 10 of your top product pages. Do that site : search and see if Google has indexed pages that are 401 on those first 2 result pages. But then, so if you just quick question, if you just site : your site jaysrazors.com, the order that Google displays them, that's Google's page rank. So whichever, if there's 5 products on that page, and then there's like my about or contact page, is the top one has the most page rank with Google. Is it in that order? It's like 95% that's true. As long as you're doing Google incognito. And even that's not perfect. Google takes your data and does whatever they want with it, even when you tell them not to. But that gets you as close to what Google thinks is the most important one. Yes.
Okay, so do that for your products.
And then the thing that I see over and over and over again is E-commerce merchants pay a ton of attention to how the page looks and the words that are on the page, and nobody is behind the wheel on the technical side. Like, I'll go into a lot of sites and see the designer or the dev, whoever built it, can coded every large block of text as H1. So there's like 50 H1s on the page.
Yeah.
And some of them are completely worthless. So one, that's terrible. Google gets super confused and it will punish you accordingly.
Yeah.
So to just pick 5 or 10 of yours, use the Google Inspect tool, which lets you like hover over different parts of the page and just check to see on your top 5 or 10, is this following a H1 at the top? Everything else is then coded specifically for H2, H3, body copy, H4, whatever you need it to be, so that it's very clearly structured around that. And then adding things like alt image tags. Like, this is not sexy work at all, but it makes a big, big difference. And the reason it makes such a big difference is because a lot of sites simply aren't doing this. So little edge wins like that really make you stand out on the SEO side.
Well, I see SEO as really a game of 1,000 inches that you're trying to, and then you eventually get there. Like, okay, just, you mentioned Google Inspector. Is that a different, are you thinking Chrome Inspector or what? Is there a different tool?
Chrome Inspect. You're right. Yeah. If you
gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
Good. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't some secret Google tool I didn't know about.
No.
So, okay. Any other SEO like high level things that stores can do for quick wins?
For quick wins, I'm not sure, but I've had a ton of success recently with just aggressively looking into link building. And I think maybe this is like just the warning. But a lot of quote unquote SEO agencies will try to sell you is basically content and like minimal technical SEO. Like, if you want to hire somebody to do technical SEO, give them one page, have them identify exactly what we just talked about, go through it. They should be looking for alt tags, keyword density. How are the H1s through H5s structured, and get them to get you a report on exactly that on one page, optimize and see if it makes a difference. If they're not willing to do that with you, then they're probably trying to rip you off. Like, I just don't want to work with anybody that I'd pay them for that. And then, now I'm going to unleash you on the other 10 or 20. The other thing you'll often try to do is sell you on a content package. And I'm really, before I go creating on-site content, the things that I really want are, I just want more backlinks to the pages that I want to rank, my actual product pages. And if you can't get a contract from an SEO agency that is pay per link by domain authority, they're trying to rip you off. There are tons of places out there that won't. Find them.
That will get you links by domain authority.
Yep, that you build it into the contract. Yes. Like, as soon as you're going to an SEO, if they say something like editorial strategy or outreach, it's like the death of, we're going to do outreach. I'm like, no, you're going to give me 10 links at DA50 or higher sites. This is how much each one's going to cost. That's the contract. And the good folks will be like, hell yeah, that's what we're doing. And the bad folks will give you some dumb reason about why they can't do that.
What are some of the tools you use to monitor for SEO, for monitoring backlinks, for auditing your sites, or any ones we can throw in the show notes that would be useful for merchants?
My favorite is SEMrush. We have a bunch of CTC clients inside SEMrush, the large one. That's what I use for Common Thread Collective itself. But SEMrush is about probably the easiest. Updates every day. I'm impatient, so I want to see what happened overnight, that kind of thing. Ahrefs is another good one. You know, spend like a day or find somebody on your team, just be like, yo, get us in here, start monitoring, get all those keywords in. And they should be able to like get up to speed on their own within a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And you mentioned Moz earlier. Is that one you use as well too?
Moz is a free one. Moz is just great. The Moz extension for Chrome.
Yeah.
That's a great one just to install and then constantly use whenever you're searching, because it'll give you a little PA and DA. PA underneath each one of them, again, scores 0 to 100, what they think the page authority is based on the backlinks directly to that page. And then the domain authority is the overall. And that's just such a great gauge of when you're looking for what sites to target, who to reach out to, and then your own site as well. The free version.
I know.
It's great.
I've used it just when I'm shopping too. Like, you want to know, is this a legit? It kind of just instantly gives you how credible is a site in seconds. So are there any trends you're following in SEO that you're excited about or really paying attention to that you think might change things up?
The inner relationship between words and video. And this is probably even a bigger deal in e-commerce than it is in B2B content, where I actually do my day in and day out work.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, hosting on YouTube, whatever the tutorials and things you put out are, paying attention to how you optimize the words on that Google page and for that video and in that video and on the still images that might be the cover tile for it. And then what I'm really paying close attention to is how to embed that into specific pages, because what Google is now doing is it's actually pulling, I've noticed, like embedded videos that are on pages. And then it's about, okay, I got to align those two, this video asset with the written asset so that they're one for one targeting the same idea or semantic range of keywords. And the boost, like that 1-2 combo, I haven't seen it hit yet, but I'm super excited about this trend and using those two. And then on top of that, right, like in either direction, write an article or do a tutorial that's a video and then flip-flop, repurpose like crazy. So whichever one you're more natural at doing, especially as like a brand owner, as an e-commerce merchant, if you like getting in front of the camera and doing little mini tutorials or talking about your product, that sort of thing, then start with video, transcribe it, turn it into a post. Like never be one and done. And then seed them together so that one is hosted on the other or the link is embedded in, that sort of thing.
So are you saying that you think there might be some correlation with your H1s that are on your page? And then if you have titles in your video, because Google's transcribing them, you can search them and they're searchable, like you just said. So if there's transitions in the video and titles and headers of any type, having that aligned with the content, H1s, like Google might actually be paying attention to that, or that's you're kind of keeping your eye on that.
I'm keeping my eye on it because because Google's trying to.
That's interesting. That's super interesting.
Right, Google is a word thing. And so they're, with podcasts, with videos, the transcription that they automatically do, all of that, like the way Google knows how to read things is words. And so the more I can do with words, even if it's in a different actual media format, the more I'm future-proofing myself.
That sound means it's time for the lightning round. Let's get Aaron in the old e-commerce hot seat. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
What is the biggest mistake in e-commerce, either you've made or you see merchants making?
Not creating a robust, at least 10-part email flow post-purchase. So much is left on the table or is just crappy experience post-purchase. And I mean also immediately post-purchase. The transactional emails matter.
Yes, and it's such an easy thing to do. What is your pet peeve when Aaron is shopping online?
When I abandon a cart, get an email, but don't get a dynamic product ad on Facebook a few days later. Crazy. I've been on your collection page. I've been on your product page. You've taken the time to make an email capture. You can DPA me on Facebook. With that specific product, it was just about connecting the feeds and then a few other that are closely related to it, or at least the collection level. So if I was looking at pants, I see pants.
So even if you didn't buy the product, you're saying it still annoys you when you see an ad for it, or you buy it and then you see the.
When I go,
okay.
On collection, product page, checkout, and I leave, and I sometimes get the rescue cart abandoned thing, but I don't get that dynamic product ad. I want it. I want to see it, and then I'm down.
I've added products. I've been really busy or something, and I've added a product to cart, and I've done it because I know I'm going to either get an email or I'm going to get retargeted. And I've intentionally added products to cart to get retargeted.
Yes.
And I'm fully aware of how it works, and I do it on purpose. So that's an interesting one. You're the first person that's mentioned that as a pet peeve.
And not some broad brand play retarget that has nothing to do with the thing I was looking at. If I made it all the way to the checkout, can tee me up. Give me that product or a related product.
I love it. What's your favorite thing about your job?
Channeling the collective genius of Common Thread Collective, and in particular, Taylor Holiday.
What's your favorite online store?
Nugs. Nugs, they're vegan chicken nuggets, and those people are amazing. I love their ads. I love their emails. I love their site, Nugs, N-U-G-G-S. They did a product drop.
I feel like they're killing it. Yeah, they're killing it on social media too. Yeah, the Tesla of chicken.
Site is gorgeous. It's so smooth.
Nugs 2.0, the Tesla of chicken.
Yes.
I've actually, it's so funny you mentioned that because I just saw a bunch of their social and some people were retweeting it. They're apparently killing it on social too.
Oh, look at a product drop for nuggets. And they sold out.
Yeah. It's a great time to be alive. That's all I got to say. What's the number one thing you think that stores could be doing to grow sales right now, but they aren't?
Man, I mean, pick your choice.
I know. I feel like you mentioned a lot today.
Just email sequence or locking down those retargeting DPAs.
Yeah. Most of our listeners are business owners or entrepreneurs. Any favorite quotes or advice?
Honestly, the best piece of advice I ever got was from my ex-wife when I was 19. I had no business being married. I was being a little prima donna, and we were going to go out to Olive Garden, and I just didn't feel like I looked good. And she looked at me and said, "You got to learn to be happy, ugly." And that one was like, oh, that's so deep. Yeah. Which is like, man, be happy, like, regardless of how it's just, if you can learn to be happy ugly,
I would say I'm happy ugly. I love it. Okay, but last one. If you had to give some advice to someone who's just launching and they're trying to go from 0 to 1,000 sales, and then someone who's hit that 1,000 sale mark and they're trying to get to 100,000, any advice for the two different scenarios you can give a merchant?
In the 0 to 1,000, I would say hone in on your early adopter advocates, the people that buy from you, right? Stalk them on social, get that UGC into the email, get the reviews, invite them to private Slack groups, invite them to a Facebook page that's private, that's only accessible to them. Just cultivate those relationships, because that's sort of the insights you'll glean from them, and their advocacy will be the thing that propels you into that 1,000 to 100,000. I
think it's Seth Godin. He talks about your 1,000 loyal fans, and that's like you're building your brand on top. That those are your advocates for your company, and get as close to them as you possibly can. Understand them, be intimate with them, because that's the future of your business. Okay, so you've got your 1,000. Any advice getting it to 100,000?
Build a marketing calendar around seasonal events that coincide with the story, those 100 fans, those 1,000 first. Build a marketing calendar for campaigns, paid campaigns, organic campaigns, email campaigns across the board that coincides with at least 4 seasonal events that matter to your customer base. It might be International Women's Day. It could be other events. Every niche has their own Super Bowl, so that's another event. But if you don't do that early, you're basically going to end up in the position of the ad account driving the sales, ad account driving the story, instead of the story driving the ad account. Yep.
And then you'll eventually not be able to spend enough to drive. It's a leaky bucket.
Diminishing returns. It's just the more, the less efficient you'll get. But by tying into those events, you build that identification with the audience, and then you also just have almost an endless supply of every year these new ones are going to come up, and this is the campaign around that.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. I know our listeners really appreciate it. I guarantee I'll get a ton of feedback after this show. I get all the messages. Thank you. People tell me what they took away. There's just so many here. If someone wants to follow you on the socials or, learn more about you, is there anywhere you want to direct them?
I'm most active on Twitter, Aaron Orendorff. And if you go to Google and do AARON space ORE, I think that's when it auto-completes to Orendorff.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Someday I'll be famous enough to be like Aaron OR. We'll really know I'm somebody then. But I'm pretty easy to find. There's not many Aaron
When it auto completes to Aaron or Orendorff on Own Your Commerce podcast, then we've made it. So
that is a good mic drop.
And we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much, Aaron.
My pleasure.
That's it for another episode of Own Your Commerce. If what you've heard has helped you in any way, I'd love it if you'd leave us a review in iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. It's a new podcast and reviews really help spread the word. And if you know someone you think that might benefit from this podcast, share it with a friend. If you'd like to learn more about Bold, visit boldcommerce.com. You can view all our past episodes, and if you have a story you'd like to tell, we'd love to have you on the show. You can apply to be a guest or suggest a guest on our website as well. That's all for now, and we'll see you next week.